Peace for the Troubled Heart by Herman Hoekseman. Beginning Part 2. Suffering. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 12. Chapter 9. Nothing Strange. Part 1. There is something in nature, an hour of breathlessness, awful expectancy, when, in the late afternoon of a sultry summer day, the gentle zephyr even holds its breath and ceases to stir even the sensitive leaf of the poplar, and when blue-black clouds thickly pack on the horizon and the distant rumble of thunder announces the approach of a storm, all nature stands in awe, fearful and still, expectantly, until the storm breaks loose. The wild wind howls and lashes the trees, lightning sets the heavens ablaze, stroke upon stroke, and the roaring thunder reverberates through the air, peal upon peal. So there has been times in the history of the church, an hour of oppressive stillness, when the enemies of the church are seated in high places of authority and power, and latent hatred of God and His Christ and His people begins to manifest itself, when slanderers of the righteous and accusers of the brethren are bestirring themselves to report evil things about the children of light, and there are signs of secret conspiracies and plottings against the church. The people of God stand in fear and anticipation of the things that are at hand, until soon the storm of persecution breaks loose. Prison doors are opened unto them, scaffold and stake are erected, and their blood is shed for righteousness' sake. Such an hour of approaching woe and suffering is dreadful, frequently worse than the actual tribulation itself. Imagination, creating a picture of the impending woe, brings the hour of actual tribulation to our mind in all its horror, and fearful apprehension fills the soul with oppressing grief. Thus the suffering servant of Jehovah is overwhelmed with the awful anticipation of the hour of darkness, and crawling in the dust of Gethsemane's garden, he expresses all the burden of his grief in one significant sentence: "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death." Thus it is with the individual child of God, and frequently in the history of the church. There are periods when the fiery trial is not yet, but is impending and expected, moments of oppressive stillness before the breaking of the storm of persecution and tribulation. And such an hour it was for the church when the Apostle Peter wrote those words to them: "Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you." In general, though not always, in that specific sense in which the church of Peter's day saw the signs of approaching tribulation, such an hour it is always for the people of God in the world, for the enemy is always there. He chose lordship over us is our only comfort, is always hated, and the servant is never greater than his Lord. The word of the Lord is always with us. In the world we shall have tribulation. Beloved, think it not strange. They may deem such fiery trials strange indeed, for they have to suffer and be oppressed so terribly. In fact, why should the children of God have to suffer at all? Did not their Lord bear all their griefs? Did he not fully atone for all the guilt of all their sin and iniquity? And are not the transgressions blotted out in the blood of their Redeemer? Do they not walk about clothed with the garments of righteousness? And if their sins are actually forgiven and forgotten, blotted out in boundless grace, is it not strange that they still must suffer and pass through fiery trials? Still more, are they not beloved children of the living God? Surely he loved them with fathomless love from before the foundation of the world, with a love that is measured only by the sacrifice of his only begotten Son. They are dear to him as the apple of his eye, and his watchful eye is continually over them in love. For the keeper of Israel never slumbers and never sleeps. Besides, he most surely is powerful above all gods. Yea, besides him there is no God. All things, all the raving enemies included, are constantly in his power, and without his will they cannot and do not stir. How then can God tolerate the enemy to rave in furious enmity against his beloved and permit the power of darkness to triumph over them? It is not strange that our Father in heaven should permit his beloved children, for whom he sacrificed the life of his Son, to pass through these fiery trials and tribulations. Neither is this all. They might think this approaching fiery trial strange from a human point of view, for why should men hate them? They are no evildoers. They do not murder or steal. They are no busybodies in their men's matters. They are no dangerous element of a country's population, nor a sore upon the society. They do well and walk as children of light. They do the will of their esteemed, while the wicked suffered and the evildoers met with general condemnation. If the children of God, the men of old, have walked with God, the prophets of the Lord had been men of high esteem, honoured by all, while the workers of iniquity, they unbraided in their messages from God, were locked behind prison doors, or led to the scaffold. Surely some suffering child of God might think so uncommon a thing as suffering for righteousness' sake to be strange and marvellous. But this is not the case. The church in fiery trial is in good company. Always the righteous suffered, even since the blood of righteous Abel was poured out near the gate of first paradise. The righteous suffered for righteousness' sake. They were hated, reviled, dragged before the courts, evil and ecclesiastical, condemned as evildoers, deprived of property, honour, name, position, liberty and life, sunk in dungeons and miry holes, chased over the earth, mocked, split upon, burned at the stake, and cruelly sawn asunder. That was done to the captain of our salvation, who did not know sin, neither was guilt found in his mouth. For him they fulfilled all the wicked pleasures, until he was crushed and broken. Of all the righteousness, none was righteous as he. Of all the despised, none was hated as he. Of all who passed through the fiery trials, none was tried as he. As they did with the prophets who were before him, and with the servant of the Lord, of whom all those prophets spoke, so they did with the apostles and with the church. Wherever and whenever there were righteous in the world, there they must endure fiery trials. Beloved, think it not strange when men falsely accuse you and speak evil of you. Marvel not when they call themselves your brethren, but are not, plot and conspire against you, and cast you out of their synagogues historically. You are in good company, for so they have persecuted the prophets that were before you. Strange it would be if it were otherwise. Think it strange when all men speak well of you, but when they hate and rave and plot and conspire and commit their works of darkness and unrighteousness against you, and cause you to pass through fiery trials. Nothing strange, nor is the matter strange in principle. It is a marvel that darkness and light are mutually exclusive. Do you think it strange that the lie persecutes the truth? It is so uncommon that Belial hates Christ. It is all unusual that he, whose proper name is Diabolus, slanders God. Would you deem it strange that all through the history the children of the devil hate and rave against the children of God? Surely there is nothing strange in it.